Today's lab is the baking soda stoichiometry lab. We are going to decompose baking soda during this particular experiment. And for this lab, we're going to need a large test tube. We're going to need a spatula or scapula, some Q-tips or a paintbrush, just a small one, universal indicator. You will need a Bunsen burner. You will also need a ring stand and ring clamp just so you can hold on to your test tube. You will need baking soda, matches, or a striker. And sometimes it is helpful when you are using your centigram balance, which is also one of the pieces of equipment needed, to make a little boat or canoe for your test tube so your test tube won't roll out when you're working with your centigram balance. Let's go over the steps for today's lab. First thing that you need to do is make sure that you take your test tube and take it to your centigram balance. Bring your baking soda with you. You're going to put just a little scoop of baking soda in there once you have weighed your empty test tube. Then, once you put the scoop of baking soda in the test tube, make sure that you weigh the test tube one more time. Then you go back to the Bunsen burner and you are ready to go. At this point, you need to light your Bunsen burner and be careful. At this point, you need to make sure that the Bunsen burner is lit in the following fashion. Light the match first, then make sure that you open the gas and you get a hot flame. A hot flame is a blue flame, so make sure that you get one. After that, make sure that you and your partner set a timer for 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes are going to be the duration of the whole experiment for the decomposition of the baking soda. Once you have the timer going, you're going to set up two tests where you're going to try to identify what kind of gas is being released from the reaction. The first test involves a Q-tip that is going to be dipped into universal indicator. Then you will be testing one more time for that same gas, but this time you're going to use a lit wood splint. Both of those tests will happen by putting either the Q-tip or the lit wood splint inside the mouth of the test tube while the experiment is happening. Make sure that this happens within the first minute of the experiment. After that, you're going to continue moving the Bunsen burner throughout the length of the test tube, so that way you make sure that it is heating up and decomposing all the baking soda in your test tube. Watch out for the mouth of the test tube. There will be something forming there. You don't want to miss that. Then you will continue heating up the test tube for the remainder of the 10 minutes. And once that's done, you will shut the gas and wait 5 to 6 minutes. At this point, you're waiting for the test tube to cool. Be careful. Hot glass and cold glass look the same. So in order for you to verify that the glass is ready for you to pick up, then what you need to do is take the test tube and make sure that you put your hand and hover over it so you can feel if there's heat radiating from it. Once you're ready, ensure that the glass is cold or cool enough for touch. Then take it back to the centigram balance and weigh it one more time with the remaining product inside the test tube. Then at that point, you record your data and clean up and you're done. Now we're ready to begin the experiment. First thing that you need to do is measure the mass of your test tube and the test tube with the baking soda. Be sure to bring with you your canoe so you can protect the test tube from rolling away from you and breaking. Once you put your canoe on there, make sure that you zero that weight so all you gather is the weight of the test tube alone. Then, once you have that, you are ready to record your data. Once you have recorded that information, the next step will be for you to add some baking soda to the test tube. All you need is just a little bit, just the tip of the spatula, and put it into your test tube. Then notice that the balance is zeroed because we originally zeroed our canoe, and we're going to put our test tube with the baking soda. We now have a new mass. Record that as well. And in order for you to get the mass of your baking soda, all you have to do is just subtract those two numbers. We're now ready to start our experiment. I have weighed my test tube and my baking soda, and something that it would be important for you to do is make sure that your baking soda, it's spread throughout the test tube. It doesn't have to be throughout the length of the whole test tube, but it needs to be as thin of a film as possible. So that way you can decompose all of the baking soda and you don't have it clumped up. After that, what we need to do is we need to put it in our clamp. Make sure that when you are clamping it, you're not pressing too hard so you are not breaking your test tube. And remember that we are going to be heating up our test tube, so we want to make sure that when we put it in here, it is pointing away from everybody. That's a safety precaution. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to light our Bunsen burner. Be careful. Make sure that you have your goggles on, that your hair is tied back, and nothing is in your way. You can use the striker, like I said earlier, or you can just light your match. Then be sure to have the match lit, and that's when you open the gas. You want to make sure that you don't have gas accumulating in the room. Then open the gas. All right, open the gas. And then you might want to make sure that your flame is blue, because that is the hottest flame. Now that the burner is lit, we are ready to start the experiment. Make sure that your partner sets the timer for 10 minutes. Then you are ready to start moving the Bunsen burner and the flame throughout the length of the test tube. Be sure to do that carefully while your partner is getting ready to do the first test for the gas that is being released. That first test is the Q-tip with the universal indicator. Your partner will dip the Q-tip in the universal indicator. You will stop moving the burner all throughout and leave it in one end, in the opposite end of the mouth, and your partner will insert the Q-tip in the mouth of the test tube. Be sure not to touch the walls of the test tube with the Q-tip. Once you see the color change, your partner may take the Q-tip out, and we're ready for the second test. These tests should happen pretty quickly within the first minute or two of the experiment. Then your partner will go to the burner, light the wood splint or the match that you used, and then we'll put the lit wood splint in the mouth of the test tube. You will make an observation, and then your partner will be done with that part of the test. Once we have tested our gas using the two tests, then we are going to notice that some condensation is happening inside the test tube. Be sure to continue heating the test tube all throughout, and specifically on that section where the condensation is happening. You want to be sure to evaporate all of the water in there. Then, once you have taken care of that condensation and it's all evaporated, you will continue heating up the test tube and the baking soda in it for the remainder of your 10 minutes. Once that's done, all you have to do is put your burner down, shut the gas, and wait for 5 to 6 minutes for the test tube to cool down. Once the test tube cools down, you're ready to go back to the analytical balance or centigram balance and weigh your final solid product. Make sure you bring your canoe with you and you zero it again. Then put your test tube with the final product in there and weigh it. Be sure to record that in your lab manual or your lab notebook. Then all you have to do is to get the final product's mass is subtract both numbers and you'll have that data. Be sure to remove everything from the area, bring it back to your lab station, dispose of materials the way that your teacher indicates, and once you have cleaned up your area, you're done with this experiment.